All right, I'm here today with Dr. Howard Purcell. Dr. Purcell was named the new England College of Optometry's 13th president in July of 2018. He's a graduate of NECO, and prior to the appointment has served on the Board of Trustees. Prior to his appointment as president, also, Dr. Purcell served as the senior vice president, customer development for Essilor of America. Prior to Essilor, he spent 13 years as senior director of professional affairs for Johnson & Johnson Vision Care. In 1991, Dr. Purcell served on the faculty of Southeastern University College of Optometry. He was a principal in the development of the Department of Cornea and Contact Lenses. As associate professor, Dr. Purcell was responsible for both the didactic and clinical components of the program. He later reached the rank of deputy dean of the college. Dr. Purcell is a diplomat in the Cornea and Contact Lens section of the American Academy of Optometry. He's a diplomat in the American Academy of Optometry, a diplomat and a fellow in the National Academies of Practice. He serves on numerous boards, including the Global Board of Optometry Giving Sight. Then there's book chapters and publications and lectures, too numerous to mention. So I'm really excited to welcome my friend Howard. Welcome, Howard.
Thank you, Alan. Every time I hear that introduction, it sounds like I can't keep a job, but thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
We know that's not true. We know how in demand you are. That's why, right?
Thank you. Thank you, Alan.
Reason. Now,
congratulations on your continued growth of your product. Everybody has really enjoyed the opportunity to be on ODs on Facebook and communicate with each other, and you've created an incredible platform, and I wish you good luck with your new platform.
I appreciate that. Every single day that I've done it since the first day 10 years ago almost has been fun. And I don't think if it was fun, I would continue trying to drive different forms of content towards the industry. We can always use new stuff. So that's where the show idea came from. We need a TV show. We have everything else, right?
That's right.
Now I want to start. I like to do these interviews. I like to go a little personal in the beginning. And I want to start by telling our viewers that your dad was also a NECO grad, and I think 1954 from what I saw, what I read. And I'm not going to ask you to tell us how he influenced you towards optometry. I'm sure a million people have asked you that, but can you instead just tell us about him?
Wow, and all the times I've been asked questions, I don't think I've been ever been asked that question. So thank you for asking, first of all. Yeah, my dad was sort of one of those quiet people, which people who know me might find that hard to believe, but he was one of those quiet people who just loved optometry and never really even talked to me much about becoming an optometrist. He just demonstrated how much he enjoyed every day what he did. My dad was a fantastic dad, and my parents were divorced when I was young, but I spent a lot of time with him, and we both had mutual admiration for our Miami Dolphins, so we went to a lot of Dolphin games together. But what I enjoyed the most was the reality of coming together with him in practice. He brought so much of the business of optometry, which I didn't really understand a lot about getting it out of school. It's reality. We just don't and can't find enough time to prepare our students for the business of optometry. So during those 10 years I spent in practice with him, he really taught me about the business of optometry and what I was able to bring. He had to teach himself BIO. He had to teach himself slit lamp. He had to teach himself things that he didn't learn in optometry school. So it was really this wonderful mutual opportunity to learn and grow with each other. And I cherish those moments. Unfortunately, my dad passed away a few years ago, but I cherish those moments. He was a quiet guy. He wasn't really engaged in organized optometry, but supported it. Took me to meetings when I was a kid, showed me why it was so important to be involved in organized optometry. And also a very good lesson that he sent that I've remembered ever since. I would sit in the back of these meetings and complain about how it was being run and the organization of it. And I didn't agree with the points. And, he basically, sat me down and said, look, sitting in the back of the room and continuing to complain about it and say you disagree is not the way to get things done. Get yourself involved, be part of it. And you know what? Those were good words of wisdom. If you have something to say, you want to speak up. So, he was a guy who was, a man of few words. His patients loved him. He practiced in the same community, not unlike your situation, Alan, for 55 years. The practice is still going. It's 60 some years old now. And he really left a wonderful legacy, not only in our family, but in optometry in a fairly quiet way.
I didn't realize how much our fathers were alike. My dad was a a good businessman, but he was a quiet businessman. It wasn't his thing, so I didn't get much of that from him, except him yelling at me for not balancing my checkbook regularly. But he also, he was happy with what he did. He loved what he did, and I didn't even consider optometry till later. But our family summer vacations were spent at optometry conferences. So
right. I mean, I didn't, truthfully, I didn't think I was going to be an optometrist. Some people who know me know the story, but I'm a drummer. I played drums. I was going to do my thing, play drums, Miami Beach at the time when I was growing up, which is where I grew up. The strip there with the Fountain Blue, the Eden Rock. I mean, it was happening. I was working every night playing my drums. I thought, this is great. I got money in my pocket. I'm going to be a drummer. And it's kind of a funny story, but my father influenced me in a subtle way to encourage me that, you can always play your drums, but maybe having a profession might be a good idea. So I will always appreciate that. He did it in a unique way, but I will always appreciate that.
Well, we can make an analogy. You went to the beat of a different drummer instead, right? Or you're drumming your students.
I do. Yes.
Not a lot of people know this, or maybe they do, but I am a NECO, proud NECO grad, and when I heard that you were appointed president, I know how I felt. It was overwhelming to know that someone that, first of all, I knew it was a great choice for them. Second of all, I know you personally, and I was really excited for you. Tell us how you felt when you were appointed president.
Well, first of all, thank you. I really appreciate that. I had so many kind notes when I made the move. Look, I love my job at Essilor. I would have stayed at Essilor and finished my career there. I work with a great group of people who I admired, who I know were trying to do great things for the profession, and would have been very happy there. I had the honor, as you mentioned, to be on the board, and sort of, odd situation that led me to where we are. But what did I think when I found out? I mean, I can tell you where I was. It's kind of interesting. I was in Paris at an Essilor meeting. And honestly, I did not think I was going to get this job, Alan. I mean, I was referred to from the beginning as the square peg in a round hole. I had very little experience in academia. I thought I was the right person at the right time for the college, although otherwise I wouldn't have applied. So I'm in Paris, sitting at a dinner. And I'll remember this forever. And the phone rings and I see it's the board chair. And it was around the time they were going to make the decision. So I excuse myself from the table. I walk outside. I'm literally looking at the Eiffel Tower. The Eiffel Tower is in front of me.
Oh my God.
And I hear this person say some words in my ear that I never would imagine. To be honest, my initial reaction was emotional. My father had passed away a couple of years before that. I knew how he would have felt about, I know exactly what my father would have said. His first words would have been, "Are they crazy?" And then he would have congratulated me and would have been very happy. But that was my initial reaction, was very emotional. But you know what? I am honored. The fact that I have the trust of our alums and people like you to carry the college forward. I never would imagine we would have been in a pandemic, to be honest with you. No one could have imagined that. But I have a whole new appreciation for the academic world, for what our faculty, our administration, and all the schools and colleges do. They work so hard to make sure we prepare the future of this profession. And their jobs are incredibly hard. Think about it. When my dad went to school, it was a 4-year program, Alan. When your dad went to school, it was a 4-year program. It's still a 4-year program today, but the curriculum is obviously, and in a wonderful way, scope of practice has expanded so much. But I really admire these faculty. We tease faculty, oh, you become a faculty because you can't be a practitioner or something of that nature. These people are so committed to our profession, so committed to the future of our profession. I am in awe every day of their efforts.
Yeah, something you also appreciate, even when you're not in your position, as somebody who went to optometry school and graduated, and you see how good you are when you look back and you can appreciate them. It's always hindsight, What's really interesting about your career is you mentioned academia, how you came full circle from academia at Nova. Was it associate or assistant dean? Then you went through corporate America from J&J and Essilor, and now you're back to a presidency in academia. Was an academic career something that was always somewhere in the headlights for you?
Absolutely not. I'm thrilled to be here. Let me say it. I'm thrilled to be here. But no. This was not in my plan. But to be honest, I don't know that I plan to be in industry either. I plan to be in practice with my father and enjoy a wonderful life in practice. And the odd thing, it's funny how careers go. A school of optometry is opening up. It's within 10 miles of my practice. Wow, what's that going to mean? And that's interesting. And is it good? Is it bad? What's that going to mean? And so I was asked to be on the board of the school as they were building it. And this is honest to God truth. I disagreed with everything they were doing. I mean, at every meeting, I just was just not aligned with the direction. And I spoke my mind about it. About 3-4 meetings in, the dean, who was going to be the dean, the inaugural dean, asked if I would meet him after the meeting. And I said, I'm thinking to myself, okay, that's it. I'm out. He's had enough of my, barking back.
Troublemaker.
But he offered me a job. I was like, what? Are you kidding me? He's like, I like your spirit. I like that you're willing to speak up. We'd love to have you a part of our faculty. So I never, thought I would be a faculty member, but I was into contact lenses then. They needed someone to help with their contact lenses. A guy named Jack Solomon, wonderful, wonderful man in South Florida. We worked together to build the contact lens program there. So again, never thought that would be the case. One day I'm in the clinic, get a call out of the blue from Stan Yamani from J&J saying, would I be interested in a role there? I mean, I've been so fortunate in my career, to be honest. I didn't really plan it the way it went, but I would not change anything. I've had a chance to see our profession from so many different viewpoints, and I love it, and I've loved each step, and I'm thrilled to be where I am right now. It's a huge challenge. I love it, and I work with an amazing group of people who are up for the challenge.
Well, and thank you for this. I was honored with giving the commencement in the 2019 graduation. And one of the things I talked about was exactly that. I said, we set out looking for a path to go along, but what happens is you end up blazing a trail that nobody has blazed before. You've been your own person and done things your way. So that's exactly kind of what I was getting across there. And in your job, you continue to do that. One of the things that's been really interesting and unique that I've noticed about you is that you've been using the college as a springboard for initiatives that benefit the college, the students, and the industry, all kind of packaged together. And that strategy, aside from being brilliant, it appears unique to me. Was there an aha moment when you kind of envisioned that kind of direction for your presidency?
When I even consider, it's a great question. When I considered even taking the role, it's kind of who I am. I'll give you an example that might explain it. The very last question I got in my interview. So now I've gone through this whole process, and I was excited about it, but again, didn't really think I was going to get it. And there were some wonderful candidates for it who had a long experience in academia. But so the very last, I'm sitting there with the board. It's sort of the last interview and almost the last question. So the last question is, so Dr. Purcell, you have been described around here as sort of the square peg in a round hole for this job. How are you going to round off those squares and, fit in that round hole? And so, me, Alan, I mean, and I should add the caveat, I was very happy with my previous role, so I could be very honest here. I wanted them to really know where I was coming from. So my answer was, if that's what you're looking for, I'm not your person. And I looked around the room and saw, I remember calling my wife saying, don't worry, we're not going to have to move to Boston because I think I pretty much sealed the deal here. But that was honest. I mean, I am who I am. If you're going to get me, you're not getting someone with a long history of academic experience. You're going to have someone who's going to come in with a different perspective, a different view of it. And look, I love my colleagues at ASCO. They're amazing. Many of them have dedicated their careers to academia, and I respect that. Believe me, what I'm saying right now has nothing to do with my respect, great respect for it. But I hope my colleagues in ASCO also think it's a good thing here and there for us to bring someone who isn't a lifer academic, who can bring a little different perspective to the table. And perhaps it's refreshing, at times perhaps annoying, but maybe on other times refreshing, I hope. So you get what you get from me. So to answer your question, it's kind of how I've approached everything. I've had wonderful opportunities to have jobs that didn't exist before and have been able to create those. I like to try to think of ways we can grow and do things a little differently. It's kind of who I am. So when they hired me, I guess they knew what they were getting. So the answer is yes. I thought about those things. I kind of knew what I thought I could bring that might be a fresh perspective, that could financially look at things maybe a little differently. We have an amazing CFO who does a great job, but how could we look at investments we would make, and then adding wonderful people to our board, present company included, who could contribute in a different way. By the way, your commencement speech, that was the last commencement we've had, unfortunately. Wow. And you did an outstanding job. You inspired people. I hope it is recorded, and I hope there's people who would like to listen to it. You were outstanding. You related to our students, they related to you, and they understood that they have a place to go where they can talk, and they can talk freely about what's going on in this profession. It was really great, Alan. I just regret it was the last commencement we've had.
Well, I'm known for closing things down, so that's
we won't blame you for this one.
Moving on, I want to touch on a couple things. We got a lot to talk about, and I know you're busy, so I want to move on to talk about diversity, because this is something I've always been passionate about. And actually, my interest in diversity, it's a long story we're not going to get into here, but it came out of NECO back in the early 90s. And these initiatives, we've been able to support each other on. What's going on with NECO's diversity initiatives, and talk about your feeling about the importance of these.
Yeah, well, when I first arrived, my first activity was to meet with every single person. Everyone got an hour with me to tell me what they thought about the college, what their job was, if they were in my seat, what was it they would do to adjust and adapt. And one thing became very clear to me was we were very diverse, extremely diverse, but we had gaps, and that there was concern on the part of everyone that in order to get the best outcomes, in order to treat people in the most appropriate way, in many cases, we like to have doctors who look like us. And that's just reality. It's a fact. We get better outcomes when that happens. So one of our early, we created 3 pillars for the college. And one was that we were going to create an environment where all felt welcome. And we're on a journey. I mean, I'm going to admit, we have a ways to go. But what we did was we initially brought a group in to look at what is, where are we starting? What's our foundation? What's our starting point? How can we compare to that as we continue to look at ways to improve? And the college community has just, risen to the occasion. Just so many activities that are going on. I couldn't even begin to tell you, but let me highlight a few. We've created an external and an internal committee. The internal committee is made up of students, faculty, and staff. The external committee is made up of people who have a tremendous amount of experience in diversity, equity, and inclusion. Head of IBM, DE&I, head of JP Morgan, DE&I. And so we have these incredible resources that are helping us through this journey that we're on. We've done many other things. Our students have created opportunities. We have where we really thought, because here's the bottom line, if we're going to change things in this profession and diversify, it has to start at the schools and colleges. So we made a commitment, number one, to the 13% promise. We love our friends at Black Eye Care Perspective. They're doing some great stuff. We love our friends at NOA. But our friends at Black Eye Care Perspective gave us a target. And that was, we should strive to meet and be equivalent to our community. So if our community is 13% Black, as an example, then so should be our student body, our faculty, our administration, and our board. And so we are on a journey towards that. We have a 5-year plan to try to get there. What has helped tremendously is the generosity of so many people, one of which is Dr. Alan Glazer. And we thank you for your generosity. But as a result of your generosity, we've now seen other companies stepping up, offering full scholarships. Our friends at Warby Parker, 2 full scholarships for Black students. It's incredible. You and your generous gift. Coca-Cola just recently stepped up with us. I mean, that one for me was so exciting. They're all exciting, I have to admit. But to see someone from the outside say, you know what, I get that optometry is important. I get the diversification of optometry is important. And I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. For Coca-Cola to do that was just, to us, incredible. And now we're seeing others contacting us. Hey, what's going on? We're seeing this happening. So it's starting a snowball. And I hope this happens throughout our entire academic world, because that's where it has to happen. So we are committed to it. I could outline with you many more activities that we have going on, but I think the important issue is that we are on a journey. We have assigned an individual, created a position for a diversity, equity, and inclusion liaison. Dr. Angela Abraham has stepped up into that role. She happens to be a person of color. She happens to be someone who's gone through an optometry program, so she can relate to this. And we're just so excited to have Angela on board. She joins our leadership team meetings. We have really good discussions on a weekly basis about issues, trying to understand better. And we think that that will help us to continue to progress. But the key element is the ability to have scholarships and then creating an environment. It's great to have the scholarships, and we have had almost 60% increase in Black applicants at NECO this year. That's amazing.
That's
Now we want to make sure
fantastic.
we can retain them all, even those who don't get the scholarships, and show them optometry is a wonderful profession. So a lot going on, Alan. I appreciate the question. There's a lot going on across of our wonderful profession, and we're a piece of it, but an important piece, because again, if it doesn't happen in the academic world, then downstream, we're not going to solve the problem.
Well, that amazing. That 60% stat is fantastic. That's a great segue into the next question, which it's vague, but I know you're going to know what to do with it. It's where do we go from here?
Where do we go from here? Yeah. Look, when I think about that question, and I think about it a lot, because where before I could think about it, hypothesize, dream, now I have the ability to actually influence where we're going. Because let me first say this. If you ever feel like the future of our profession is in question, spend some time at a college of optometry or a school of optometry. These students are incredible. They are motivated. They are smart. They want to be great doctors. They want to give back to their communities. I mean, it's truly amazing what we're seeing. So feel good in knowing that the future of our profession is in very good hands. You hear stuff about academia and the applicant pool isn't good enough, et cetera, but we have some amazing students. And I hope that your listeners and your watchers will take the time to spend, come when the time is right and we can do these things again, to spend a day at a college of optometry, sit in on a class, see what's going on. I think, like me, you will have a better appreciation. So where we're going, Alan, we could talk about this for 2 hours. I'll try to keep it reasonably simple and explain how I think about it. We have innovation, we have this reinvention, and then there's an evolution. And then we go back to innovation again. And in my opinion, where optometry is right now is in this incredible exponential innovation period. Some of it will survive, some of it won't. Some of it will politically be stopped, some of it won't. But we are in the midst of it. And it is critically, in my opinion, critically important that we continue to look at how we reinvent ourselves. Others are reinventing the space for us. You look at what Warby's done. Look at what some of these other groups, and you can love them, you can hate them, whatever you want to do. They have reinvented it. They've taken their time to look at it, make the process simpler, make it easier, make it more straightforward. We can learn from those things. So being open to innovation, but validating, verifying, doing the important work, but keeping an open mind to that, to me, is just critical for where we go from here and how this profession is going to progress. It's scary. It makes us nervous. Artificial intelligence, virtual reality, 3D printing, telehealth. These are incredibly exciting things. The city of Boston, I can look out my window and see 5 places right now that are working on those things. We're in the heart of it here in Boston. So I can tell you it is going to change our world. And I want to see our profession at least remain open-minded, because where we go from here is incredibly exciting. When you start talking to students about AI and VR and telehealth and 3D printing, they love it. They want to learn more. They want to understand how it can work appropriately within the profession of optometry. So they are great at really listening and giving feedback. When we're working with these new companies, we're working with many of them. Dr. Gary Chu is doing a wonderful job at NECO at really keeping us up to date and allowing our students to experience some of these new technologies. Our students are so good at giving feedback because they're unencumbered. They don't have those sort of preconceived notions. So they're going to lead us there. So to me, where we go from here is, at least at the very least, keeping an open mind, assessing technology, understanding that we're about to enter a reinvention period. And as a result of that, optometry has to reinvent just like everyone else. I worry a little bit, Alan, that sometimes we're a little slow on that. And as a result, we wind up kind of playing catch up, trying to figure out how we become part of something where just having a seat at the table. By the way, I took some heat just as an example when we accepted money from Warby Parker. I mean, these guys are amazing. They're stepping up. They're giving us money. By the way, 98% of the feedback I got was positive, but there's a few people who didn't love the idea. But listen, but consider this now. We can sit at the table with Warby Parker. We can talk to them. We can give them our perspective on things. They're amazing. Pratil Lau is the optometrist there. Just as one example, he listens. He wants to hear, and they're trying to do things that do continue to support optometry and support the profession. So having a seat at the table is important. We need to do that. Where we go from here is having a seat at the table, being open-minded to innovation and technology, because we are about to enter a reinvention period in optometry. We better be prepared for that. And I hope the schools and colleges, as well as the profession, will be prepared for that.
Wow. Well, it reminds me of when people ask me, they get a bad review online and they ask me, should I respond? And my answer is, if you let other people tell your story for you, you're going to be living that story. You have to tell your own story. And I think optometry sounds like it's in that position now, where with all these innovation and all these companies that we can work with, we can choose to work with and better ourselves that way, or just fight it and end up, having them tell our story.
Yeah. And by the way, Alan, I'll just say, neither one of us are saying we should just accept any technology, bring it on, whatever it is. We should be very critical, but we should each have our filter. What is the filter? Okay, does it reduce cost? Does it provide greater access? Does it make me better at what I'm doing, better diagnostic? I mean, what are your filters? What are your decision-making pieces that you're going to decide whether this technology works or it doesn't? But it's coming. The ability to use virtual reality to assess visual performance is coming. The ability to use artificial intelligence in refraction and other capabilities is here. So we're on the precipice, and it's incredibly exciting. I just want to make sure, we all want to make sure that optometry has a seat at the table.
I agree. As long as it doesn't lower the standard of care, and we keep ourselves in a position to regulate it. By turning away from it, by not paying attention to it or bad-mouthing it, we're shooting ourselves in the foot. So, we need to be there to be in control to regulate it, I think, as well.
I agree. Now, I'll give you an example, even in telehealth, which I get into a lot of discussions with a lot of people, leaders in our profession on the telehealth side. Our opinion on telehealth is there's still validation to be done and required. And let's start with the things that aren't quite so risky. We have a very active telehealth program in our vision therapy department, in our low vision department, in our contact lens department. It has been an incredible asset to us. We're not diagnosing glaucoma right now, today, through telehealth, but we're utilizing it in a way that keeps the risks low, but enables us to test the systems, to validate the system. So, don't start with the most risky patient you could possibly have. Start with the things where the risk is low and you can test and verify. But one thing I will tell you is patients really like it. And so, we're going to need to find a way to incorporate it into what we do. There are so many upsides, though, so many upsides to it. When you're a private practitioner in a small practice, it enables you to almost double, in some cases, your ability to manage a patient volume, just as an example. So many opportunities there. I just, cautiously moving forward, but having a seat at the table seems to be the right recipe.
Having a seat at the table. Absolutely. I know you're busy, and I want to get towards the end of this and wrap it up. So I've got a couple of one question that I don't know if you're going to like it or not, but I don't care.
Bring it on.
I read, one of the things I did to prepare for the talk was I read your inaugural address, and you drew attention. It was very moving, and you drew attention to a lifelong friend who was in the audience, and it was a great tribute. But of course, I'm going to take the low road and ask, what was that most embarrassing public moment that she witnessed for you?
Well, I've had a few. I've had a few most embarrassing moments.
I want that one.
I think the one that was being referenced there, and then many of my colleagues from around the country know this, particularly Pete Kehoe, who happened to be on the stage with me during this very embarrassing moment. But I was pretty new at Essilor, and this was a national sales meeting with only about 1,100 people in attendance. So, when I do my faux pas, I try to do them big. And it was the 50th anniversary of Verilux. So I was given the honor. We were going to pass out 1,000 glasses of champagne. We had champagne on the stage, and I was given the honor of making the toast to Verilux. So shortly before going on, and I blame him for this, my boss at the time, wonderful man, John Carrier, said to me, "Howard, don't mess it up. I know that, you used to do national sales meetings with J&J and Vistakon." So he said the word Vistakon. So I blame him for this. I get up on stage, 1,100 people. We have our champagne up, and this is in Paris, everybody around the world. And I say, I want to make a toast to Vistakon instead of Verilux. And that was, I have to say, one of those moments where you just, if I would have thought quick enough, I would have made a joke out of it. but I was so horrified that I just kind of tried to move on. Well, what the funny thing about it is they now have shown this video because it was a big moment, the 50th anniversary, but they sort of bleeped out my Vistacon piece when they show the video now. But oh my God, just telling that story makes me cringe again. It was
it's amazing. It's amazing.
You work with somebody very closely who I believe was there for that, so she can tell you about that story.
I've just heard everything I need to hear. So tell us, before we go, tell us about your family and your kids, because I'm sure people want to know about that.
Oh, really? Well, thank you. You know what? You're amazing, man. You've asked me about my dad today. You've asked me about my kids. I appreciate that. You know, it's we have our work family, all of us, and we have our home family, and they're both very special to us. As is yours. I have three amazing children. My youngest happens to be a senior in college right now. So not only are we going through a pandemic as we try to lead NECO, we're going through a pandemic with a senior in college. But she is a musical theater, and she's in musical theater, and she's amazing. And of course, I think she's the most talented and wonderful actress in the world. But she's done a great job. I'm so proud of her. My two boys live out in California. My middle son, Connor, so that's Hallie is my youngest. My middle son, Connor, is been doing really well. They're both graduates of SMU, which we got to see them when we were in Dallas, which was really nice. Both working in the motion picture business now. So really enjoying LA, although they're way too far away from us. And then my oldest, Cameron, also in the motion picture business in LA, works in the distribution side and doing really well. And now he has brought to us two grandchildren. So that's pretty cool. I'm a grandpa, although they call me Pop because the grand part is worrisome to me. But I'm not ready for the grand. But anyway, we have Riley and Tess. They're wonderful. Tess was born 1/1/2020, which is pretty cool. We'll always have that birthday to celebrate with her. And then I have, a wonderful wife. I've been married for 34 years. So I'm a pretty lucky guy when it comes to the family and their support for me. I've moved them around a little bit. They've never, even wobbled or wavered on it, always supporting my career. And I've appreciated that very much. So very fortunate guy to have a wonderful family just like you.
That's a great tribute. Do you miss Dallas?
There are certain things about Dallas we do miss. Obviously, half of my time in Boston has been during a pandemic. So a little hard to make direct comparisons. We love to change the seasons in Boston. We have so many wonderful friends in Dallas. We enjoyed our time in Dallas so much. Being part of the Essilor family was an honor for me and giving me the opportunity to contribute the way that they did. So I guess we probably miss our friends the most in Dallas. We still have a home in Dallas. We don't get there as often as we'd like because of the pandemic, but typically we'd go down and visit every once in a while. But we've really enjoyed our time in Boston. It's been wonderful. I can look out, see some snow on the ground. I can see the Charles River and the Esplanade. It's really a beautiful and historic place, and I've really enjoyed spending some time here.
Well, moving to an AFC town, at least you have the future of having your Dolphins visit. So
that is right. That is right. Although, for years and years, I had to listen to Patriot fans tell me how bad the Dolphins are. So I have to admit, I'm kind of enjoying it right at the moment.
Yeah, they're still bad. But anyhow, that's okay. I'm a Redskin. I'm not a Washington football team fan, so yes. I know what it's like now, unfortunately. Well, listen, this has been great. I've had a lot of fun, and you're an incredible guy. I'm so lucky to know you, and you've advanced I'm going to cut that out. I'll go back to that. This is recorded, thank God, right? Oh my God, I didn't put your little tag up. Look,
I got no tag, man. I got no tag. What's going on?
God, that's okay. They're going to be cut out. They're going to be cut out anyway.
Now your tag went away.
My tag's gone. See, I told you I'm a rookie here. Hold on, let me get mine up, and there we go. How about that? See?
We got it.
So anyhow, let me do that again. Howard, it's been great having you here today. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you and what you bring to the industry and what you've brought to my life as a friend and a colleague. So thank you. If it's okay with you, I'd love to have you back sometime.
Anytime, my friend. And look, I throw it right back to you. I've listened to you lecture. You've helped us so much from the beginning of understanding social media and how to utilize it. Obviously, it's turned out to be such a critical component. Your leadership has been so important. We're so proud that you're a NECO alum and look forward to you coming back to the college anytime you want, my friend. Talk to our students. Let them hear about your journey. I know they want to learn more about what you've done and how they can utilize the things that you've utilized to continue to grow their practice. And I'm happy to come back anytime. Good luck with your new show.
Thanks. I think I'll be up there in September. That's when we're going to be getting around again, and that's going to be tops of my list.
Look forward to it.
All right. Take care. Thanks.